My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC Sao Paulo fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and bets. But before I do, let me welcome MMA Minute to the We Want Picks crew. He is now giving you all of his premium content under our premium banner. If you don't know who MMA Minute is, he's got 25,000 followers on TikTok. He's breaking down fights, giving you his picks, his bets, his round line leans, his methods, and now all of that content, all of that information is available to you at WeWantPicks.com. Click on analysts, and he is now one of those analysts. Super sharp. Tons of information there for you. He's also going to give you his big chalk parlay and his full send parlay for every single event. You can get that at WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. And if you use his promo code, which is Minute, you'll get a couple of days for free, and he's going to get credit for that. So let's welcome him to the team. Sign up, use his promo code, WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. And guys, don't forget to follow all of our socials. We're on every platform you could ever imagine. We're live streaming to YouTube, Kick, and Twitch. We also are throwing up different content on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. All of that costs you nothing. Just click the follow button. The only thing that isn't We Want Picks is the other YouTube channel. We have two YouTube channels. We have this one, and then we have Picks Nation. The links to all of this stuff is in the description, and a free follow would be very greatly appreciated. What's not free, though, is premium membership. It is only $10 a month. You're going to get every single event in that month for that $10. And one of the things that it offers is the safety parlay. The safety parlay continues to be a resounding success. It is averaging over 1.87 units of net profit per month. Per month. That is the average unit for the one single parlay that I give you. The last two events, though, it's a little above the average, 2.14 units of net profit. The UFC Sao Paulo safety parlay is up now, ready to go, and I believe there are 3 legs, which means it is 2 different safety parlays for your pleasure. You're also going to get tools like the line movement tracker. This is going to give you opening odds, current odds, win probability, and the line movement for every single fighter. You can use this information to work yourself in or out of a bet depending on what's going on. Fade the public, follow the public. But you are going to see how those odds translate to win probability and what that means for you. And I honestly find that to be pretty useful. Armen Petrosian, for example, he's the one and only fighter on this card so far that opened as an underdog and is currently a favorite. And right now he's sitting at minus 123. And that's saying, well, that means he has a 52.82% chance of winning that fight. And I actually find it pretty helpful to work through that and be like, do I think this guy wins this fight more than 52% of the time? Yeah, probably. So this is a good bet. That's not a true story. That is an example. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. You will unlock this. You will unlock the detailed data, metrics, and analytics. This has been up for over a week for this event. You can use this data for whatever you need, but you're going to get every single fighter, their biometrics, their last 5, the striking stats, the grappling stats, the odds for the finishes, all of that information right there. You can work your way across. I find it especially important or helpful when BetOnline drops those takedown and significant strike props towards the end of the week. You're also going to get the DraftKings Optimizer. This will build up to 150 different DraftKings lineups for you with a couple of clicks of the button. And time again, our team have taken down some decent size DraftKings tournaments using the Optimizer. You're also going to get courses. A lot of people are new to this space. A lot of people, their states just legalized betting. Their states just legalized daily fantasy sports, and they're getting into it. UFC is their favorite sport. You want to see, hey, how can I have a little bit more fun? How can I make $1 or $2 watching my favorite sport? Well, we got some courses to walk you through the ins and outs of some of these things. Just click on more in the menu and then courses. And again, welcome MMA Minute. We've also got Running Mouth MMA. We've got Artem. We've got the Pick Doctor. This channel, our premium membership, is far more than just me. You're going to get all sorts of content, information, and helpful tools at WeWantPicks.com. Just click Become a Member. It is only $10 a month to unlock everything I mentioned and everything I didn't mention, because people really complain when these intros go a little bit long. Last and final thing. You heard the intro. You've seen it before. And maybe you're on the fence, like, premium, I don't know. Well, here's some feedback from some actual users. This is from UFC 294. Bill Norman said, I see a pattern here with the tools available at We Want Picks. Doing the research, I was profitable again. Investing Wizard says, shout out to We Want Picks website. I just crushed my bets today at UFC 94. I do zero research. I mean, Probably should do a little. I do zero research. Their research is top notch. I love when the safety parlay and the lock of the week hit. Richard Korsharek said, I'm up 2 units from last night, and this is the first card I was a premium member. And then we have Mohameda says, thanks for the great picks last week. I turned 20 units into 55 following the safety parlay. Guys, hear from the people. WeOwnPicks.com, click become a member. And the last thing I swear to God that I'm going to say before we break down these fights is we do the vlogs. Every single pay-per-view, I film a vlog. What happens during the day, all the things going on. We watch the fights, you get live reactions. You want to send us something, we will open it on the vlog. Here is the address that you can mail something. We'll go ahead and hopefully it's not like animal heads, children's underwear, but you can mail us something other than those 2 things. Let's go ahead and break down this card. Opening up the UFC Sao Paulo fight card, we have Marc Diakiese taking on a Kaue Fernandes. This is going to be an interesting fight because a lot of people are split on this. We got Marc Diakiese. This guy's a pretty good kickboxer. He has become a wrestler as of late. Striking-wise, he does have some power. He does set things up with leg kicks and body shots. He likes to invest in those early to sort of slow you down, and then he'll come to the head, look for a finish. But he's become a wrestler. And wrestling-wise, he's worked in 21 takedowns in his last 4 fights. He has 29 minutes of control time in his last 4 fights. He's coming off that loss, though, to Joel Alvarez, where he was throwing a bunch of wild spinning nonsense, but he did throw it hard and with power. He's taking on Kaue Fernandes. This guy's a loose and powerful striker. He is going to bounce on his toes. He's going to stay outside of the pocket, and then he's going to lunge in with speed and power. And like a lot of these Novignal fighters, that is his gym. He's got some slick BJJ, solid takedown defense. He is flashy with his striking, but he's comfortable. And when he's focused, he can be technical as well. Marc Diakiese is a good-sized favorite here. Continues to tighten, but he is a good-sized favorite here. I don't know why. I genuinely don't know why. Like, yes, at one point, Marc's a fast, technical striker, but lately, he looks a little too afraid to strike, and he started grappling. His wrestling is decent, and at best, Fernandes has pretty good takedown defense. So that's going to be interesting, but I am going to lean Fernandes here. Obviously, Marc Diakiese has the experience level. The competition edge heavily favors him, but I like Fernandes. I think he can defend the takedowns. I think he's going to come forward. I think he's going to strike. I think he's going to stay in Marc's face, which is going to give him a little bit of trouble. I threw a small underdog bet on him at plus 145. That is now at plus 116, so that is tightening. If you think he wins, I don't think we're going to be able to get plus money much longer. If you're a premium member, you've seen the plus 45 for about 2 weeks now. And if you're not a premium member, become one. If you are one, make sure you go to your account page, click the link Discord button so you can alerts when we go ahead and throw some of these bets on the board. Then we have Montserrat Ruiz taking on Eduarda Moura. This is another interesting fight. Montserrat Ruiz is a national champion wrestler. She loves to come forward. She loves to wrestle. Once she gets the takedown, she's going to throw a lot of strikes. She's going to try to maintain control on top. While she is an accomplished wrestler, she can be very hittable. Her striking on her feet is not very good, and she can be touched up. She is coming off that TKO loss to Jacqueline Amorim, where she was taken down several times. And while she got her own takedown, it was more of a catch the kick, work in a trip, and less of a shoot a double. Let me show you what national champion wrestling is all about. She's taking on UFC newcomer Eduarda Moura. She's a grappler. She's got some solid takedowns of her own and submissions. She is aggressive with that grappling. She wastes no time coming across the cage, initiating a takedown, and working in her striking. The striking is sloppy, but like a lot of other grappler wrestlers, it's just there to set up the takedown. She's going to bomb away, look to get you to the cage, look to get you to the ground. She is coming off that Contender Series submission win back in August. I got to go Eduarda here. I hate fading high-level wrestlers, but we just haven't seen it out of Montserrat, right? She had that one UFC fight where she took down Cheyenne Bays at the time, or Cheyenne Vlismas, 285 times, I think, with a side headlock. But outside of that, we have not seen much of that wrestling. She gets taken down. She gets hit. I think the UFC is sort of feeding her here to give Eduarda Moura a nice big UFC win, welcome her to the crew. I do think Montserrat's a little more dangerous than they're giving her credit for, but I think Moura's going to come in, aggressively shoot her takedowns, have some early success. I'm going to lean Eduarda Moura here, but no bet. I'm not going to bet on a UFC newcomer in the favorite spot with these odds. So we're going to head and leave it alone, but she's going to be the pick because Montserrat, despite being a phenomenal wrestler, does get taken down quite a bit. Then we have Angela Hill taking on Denise Gomes. This is another interesting fight with a little bit of line movement here. Denise Gomes was the favorite, becoming an even larger favorite. And I get it, but Angela Hill is a high IQ veteran fighter. She's not a newcomer. She's not somebody you're going to be able to take advantage of. You're going to have to fight a very smart, calculated fight to beat Angela Hill because she's decent everywhere. She's mostly got some speed, no real power, but she's fast, she's versatile, she is talented, and she understands the game. She has been around forever. Look at it's not the greatest record in the world, but that is a lot of fights, and most of them are in the UFC at a high level. She's fought some of the better women. She's not beating them all, but she's in there, in the cage with them, coming forward, dancing around, pot-shotting her way to decision wins. Decent takedown defense. But what makes Angela Hill dangerous, definitely not the power. What makes her dangerous is that experience. She can take advantage of some holes, some mistakes that a UFC newcomer might make. She can go ahead and do that. She did beat Loopy in that big upset spot. She's taking on Denise Gomes. I mentioned she's already the favorite. She was minus 141 last week. She's minus 148 this week. So it's widening just a tiny bit. Not enough to be super notable, but it does tell you that people are more confident in her than Angela Hill. She's a striker. She can grapple as well. She is a little bit hittable, but she's insanely tough. She's never out of a fight. She's going to come forward, bite down, and bomb away. It does take her a few minutes to get going, but once she's dialed in, she's going to pick up that pace and has no problem sort of taking one to give one. She's going to work in kicks really well, and she's also dangerous on the ground. She's coming off that KO win over Yasmin Yaryui that she only needed 20 seconds to do. What is impressive about that, though, is she was a massive underdog. Like, it wasn't even close. She was a massive underdog in that fight, and she didn't care. She went in there, came forward, bombed away. She didn't let the odds get to her. She didn't let the crowd get to her. Like, sometimes that can happen, right? The whole world is telling you you're supposed to lose this fight. Money coming in on bets is saying you're going to lose this fight, and she did not care at all. Went out there, blasted that chick, and I think her head came off of her body during that fight, but I could be wrong. Anyway, Denise Gomes, I think she wins this fight. Yes, Angela Hill is super durable. Jeez, listen. I'm either coming down with a cold or, the gallon of alcohol last night might be working its way through my system. It's probably the cold, but I'm gonna say some weird stuff in this breakdown. Okay, I'm not all there. It's a little foggy. The weather's changing. It's not the booze. Definitely the change of the weather. But anyway, Angela Hill's always durable. She is always in a fight. She's not somebody that gets blown out. She's in every fight. They go to a decision. You can take her down. You can grind on her. She's not been finished. Like, this is not somebody that you just punch in the face and she shells up. She's always there, always moving, stays in your face. I do think Denise Gomes wins this fight. I have a small half a unit on her at minus 141. I think the much older Angela Hill is probably going to lose this fight. I mean, there's a 15-year age gap. So I got ahead and shoot my shot with the Denise Gomes money line there. But she's going to have to fight smart. If she comes out reckless and stupid and gets tired after a couple of minutes because she's bombing away, Angela Hill's going to win this fight in the underdog spot. But I trust Denise. Angela Hill's a little too old. I think she's just taking these fights to take these fights and is focusing on the second half of her career at this point. Then we have Vitor Petrino taking on Modestas Bukauskas. Vitor Petrino's always a ton of fun to watch. Yes, he gets dropped in his fights, but he drops other people. Guy's got power. He's athletic. He's a monster with a wild left hook. He is a dangerous striker. He can grapple as well. He has 11 takedowns in his last 2 fights. His takedown defense is just okay, but he does a nice job of working his way back up and avoiding danger. He was in a full triangle choke on his Contender Series win, and he rampaged Jackson his way out of that. Old school MMA fans get that reference. The new ones, you don't. He's going to be a problem for a lot of people, but he does need to button some things up. He's way too loose. He's way too wild. He is coming off that win over Marcin Prochnow, where he did have 4 takedowns and then the eventual submission win. He's taking on Modestas Bukauskas. This guy's a versatile striker who is dangerous on his feet. He can be a little bit low volume, which is why he's got that negative striking differential, but he has all the tools to be successful. He's got a 75% takedown defense, and up until February of this year, he had never been taken down in the UFC. He's coming off that close win over Zach Pauga, where he did land fewer strikes and he was taken down. A little bit questionable there, but I think this fight is going to be closer than the odds. Right now, Vitor Petrino's pretty much a 3-1 favorite in this fight. I do think he's going to win, but he can be sloppy. Modestas is a good striker. Vitor can be dropped. Modestas has some power. Vitor does have all these sloppy takedowns, but Modestas got decent takedown defense. So I am confident, not super confident, but I do think Vitor wins this fight because this guy's a dog. He doesn't care. He'll get dropped. He'll keep coming. He'll miss 5 takedowns, shoot 10 more. Like, he's going to keep coming. He's going to stay aggressive. He's going to be in your face. I think that's what wins him this fight. But Modestas Bukauskas is a great underdog on this card, especially at these plus 250, those odds are crazy for this fight. Vitor Petrino, 9-0, very dangerous, but relative, I don't think we've seen a fight out of him yet where it's like, oh, this guy's a stud, right? We've seen fights where it's like, he's dangerous. He could be a stud, but we haven't seen yet where he came in, destroyed somebody start to finish. So anyway, Vitor Petrino is going to be the pick, but Modestas Bukauskas could play spoiler. So I'm going to leave Vitor out of any parlays that I got going on. Then we have Elizeu Zaleski taking on Rinat Fakhretdinov. And guys, anybody who's been watching us for a while knows that there were points where I really struggled with some of the names, especially a name like this. And I just hammered Fakhretdinov. No problem. I'm really evolving as a person, and I just kind of hope you guys see that and appreciate that. We got Elizeu Zaleski. This guy's a solid striker. He does have some very real power. He's athletic. He's dangerous on the ground. It's that capoeira style, the Brazilian dance fighting style. He's busy, constantly moving. He does have some very real power. Again, super athletic. That's how he's able to dance flip his way into these fights. And he does have some cardio, and that makes him a pretty dangerous guy. He's coming off that close win over Abubakar Nurmagomedov, where he was taken down, and he did have some success striking, though. Rinat Fakhretdinov is a nonstop. I love this guy. He's the pick, done, right? But this guy's a nonstop wrestler. He will throw bombs. We have seen the power. He's willing to trade, constantly pressuring forward. He'll throw a big 1-2. Then he'll literally just bend over, grab your legs, and then work in a takedown. When he's on top, he's going to pound away. He's looking for a TKO more than a submission. He's coming off that win over Kevin Lee that forced Kevin Lee into retirement. That poor bastard. Poor Kevin Lee, right? He had all the tools, and at one point was doing really well. Motown phenom, ton of fun to watch. And his brother is like eating French fries in a car. And his brother is like one of the most popular TikToks on planet Earth doing Good Morning America. And the guy had a couple of French fries in a car. This place is delicious. And now he's like nuts famous, ton of money, all that stuff. And poor Kevin got sent into retirement by Rinat Fakhretdinov. Anyway, they didn't do all the Brazilians a lot of favors in these matchups. This card is in Brazil. And just like the Abu Dhabi card, they had a lot of locals or general regional people. And you would think that they heavily, there you go. Here's a couple of wins for the hometown crowd. They didn't do that here because Elizeu Zaleski is going to get smoked. I love Rinat in this fight. You guys know I've been very high on him. I have literally made money on him in every single one of his UFC fights. If anything, I like him more now than ever. We saw his power in his last fight, his insane wrestling fight before that. I think until he runs into somebody that's like top 5, top 10 of the division, I think he's just going to come forward and just grind people down and get it done. I don't think a 36-year-old Elizeu Zaleski is going to have what he needs to win this fight. Rinat is the pick. Safe to parlay, all of those things. Then we have Victor Hugo stepping up on pretty short notice to take on Daniel Marcos. Daniel Marcos is an effective striker. He's got some power, pretty accurate. He does a nice job stringing together combinations, marching forward. He is going to throw 1-2s, and then he's going to follow that up with a wild flying knee or a spinning elbow. His takedown defense is solid at almost 90%. And with 8 knockouts and 7 decisions, we know that he can be dangerous, but we also know that he has enough cardio to continue to fight for 3 full rounds. He's coming out that decision win over Davy Grant, where he honestly, even though he won, and you look at it on paper, you're like, oh, that's a pretty straightforward win. He was a bit low volume, didn't seem to do enough, but he did get that win. He's taking on Victor Hugo. This guy's stepping up on short notice. He's a big guy. He's fought all the way up to welterweight. This is at bantamweight. That tells you how big he is. And even at welterweight, he's had some success, at least with the power in his hands. And just like his... he's got the power. He's going to bomb away. And just like a lot of people like that, he can be a little wild. He's got an aggressive striking style. He's an aggressive grappler as well. He's going to get a takedown. He's going to chase submissions, even if that means he's going to lose a position while doing it. He is coming off a Contender Series submission win just 3 weeks ago. I mean, that's a pretty quick turnaround. And it'll be 4 weeks come fight night, or almost 4 weeks come fight night, because Contender Series is on Tuesdays. I actually am struggling a little bit with this pick. It should be a very clear, straightforward win. Daniel Marcos, parlay him. He's getting a short notice guy. But frankly, Daniel Marcos looked absolutely terrible in his last fight. And yes, Victor is stepping up on short notice. But if Daniel comes out low volume, if he comes out looking the way he did against Davey, he could lose this fight because, Victor is not the type of guy to wait around. He's going to come forward. He's going to string some things together. He's going to bomb away. And he could have some success. Daniel is going to be the pick because of the short notice, because of the UFC type experience. You don't get to 15-0 with a couple of UFC fights by luck, right? The guy knows how to win. But the reality is Victor Hugo has 28 fights. Yes, the record's not the greatest if you dig into it, but he's got 28 fights. He's got power. He's aggressive. Victor Hugo could have some success here. So I'm going to pick Daniel Marcos. I'm not going to bet on this fight. I'm just going to let this sit and watch this with a smile. Then we have Elves Brener taking on Esteban Ribovics. Elves Brener played spoiler in his last fight. I think he was the biggest winning underdog on that card. Nobody thought he was going to win that fight. And then he won. Actually, the only person that picked him to win was the Pick Doctor, which is the AI that we have picking fights. Anyway, Elves Brener is a grappler. He reminded us that he has big power in his hands in his last fight. He's got that loose striking style where he basically is just buying time and avoiding being hit. His goal is always get you against the cage, work you to the ground. He's going to throw bombs in the pocket. He is athletic enough to mix in kicks and spinning attacks, but you can tell he's not a striker, right? He'll turn away, and he doesn't always look comfortable in those exchanges, but he does have some power. If he is able to get you to the ground, he is dangerous as hell. And I mentioned he played spoiler. I think he was the biggest winning dog on that card where he knocked out Garam. He had a few takedowns, and then he found that big knockout in the third. What I will tell you is he was going to lose that fight. A lot of people have, and this always happens, right? You watch a fight, you're shocked at what happened, whatever, and then over time, you build the narrative in your head. Elves Brener was going to lose a 30-27 decision. He didn't win a single round, and then he got that big knockout in the third. So it's not as if Elves, I don't want to say a lucky punch because it was not a lucky punch, but it is not as if Elves was dominating that fight. He was losing the fight, found the knockout in the third to get it done. But I don't know if he's going to have that success here because he's taking on Esteban Ribovics. This guy's an impressive striker. He has some sneaky power himself. His strikes are tight, they're short, they're accurate. He's got a nice high guard, and then he's going to work forward and picking in shots. Despite that impressive knockout highlight reel that you'll see if you do a little bit of research, he's not just a striker. He's got some takedowns, solid BJJ as well. He's going to shoot clean doubles, work nice upper body takedowns to get you to the ground, and then he's immediately looking to snatch something up. He is coming off that decision win over Kawe Kirk, where he dominated the striking, but he did get taken down 3 times, and that worries me a little bit here because Elves can have some success with the takedowns. He took down Garam a couple of times. He can have success with the takedowns. We watched Ribovics get taken down by, you could argue, a lesser wrestler than Elves, but this is still a tricky fight. I think Esteban is the overall better fighter. I think he wins this fight. But a takedown defense, a little bit rough. He's been taken down 14 times in his last 2 fights. And even though his takedown accuracy is at a low 20%, Elves will stick to a grappling game plan. I'm still going to pick Ribovics, after I just bragged about pronouncing names so well. I'm still going to pick Ribovics. I think the striking gap is really wide. Yes, Elves knocked out Garam, but again, watch that fight. It was like a neck punch. He wasn't going to win that fight. I think Ribovics does win this fight. I threw a half a unit on him at plus 113. I love the underdog money. He's plus 130 now. You're going to get even better odds today. So if you agree, great, go get your money. If you don't agree, don't just blindly bet what other people do. But I like Ribovics here. I like the plus money. I think Elves is getting a little too much credit with a one-punch knockout in a fight that he was clearly going to lose. So that's where I stand. Then we have the first of the 2 Bonfim brothers. We have Ismael Bonfim taking on Vinc from Hell, Pichel. And despite being fraud-checked in his last fight, Ismael Bonfim is very, very good. I think he's the real deal. I don't think he was fraud-checked either. I did it like this because that's some stupid bullshit kids say. The reality is he lost to Benoit Saint-Denis, who then went on to beat Benoit's very good. Ismael wasn't his night that night, but He's the real deal. He's a wild striker. He's got some very real power, no regard for straight punches. He's going to throw everything like he's throwing a baseball. He comes forward, uses that power. He's going to mix in some flying knees, the occasional takedown as well. And when he does take his time, he can be accurate, powerful, have solid defense. He does actually have high-level boxing experience as well as BJJ. I mentioned he's coming off that submission loss to Benoit Saint Denis. He's taking on 40-year-old, more likely, what the hell, more like, where was it? 40-year-old Vinc Pichel. He's going to be 41 in like 2 weeks. So basically 41-year-old Vinc Pichel. I've mentioned this before. I love that nickname. That's a phenomenal nickname. I mean, that's an unbelievable nickname. Anyway, Vinc Pichel got plenty of movement. He will pick his shots well. Not the most technical guy, but he does tie things together well. He's got solid offensive wrestling. He averages 3 takedowns per fight. But what's most surprising is that even though he's a very good offensive wrestler, he gets taken down very easily. He only has a 23% takedown defense, and he's been taken down 23 times in the UFC. He's coming off the decision loss to Marc Madsen. That was more than a year ago. And Vinc Pichel, listen, he's tough. He's fun to watch. He's a gritty guy, but he is basically 41 years old. He's coming back after 18 months away. Ismael's loss to Benoit Saint Denis says more about how good Benoit is than, Ismael's overrated. No, Ismael's not overrated. I think he's as good as we think he is. I think he's as good as his UFC debut. And I think he's going to be literally better everywhere than Vinc Pichel. I think he can come forward, get his own takedowns, bomb away on the feet, and have some success here. So Ismael's going to be the pick, and you could probably give yourself a nice little Bonfim brother parlay and have some success there. Then we have Rodolfo Vieira taking on Armen Petrosian. This is the fight. Armen Petrosian is the only fighter on this card that opened as an underdog and has become a favorite. And I get it, but I'm going to go the other way here, and I'll tell you why. Yes, Rodolfo Vieira can have some questionable cardio. But this guy is a freak athlete. He's an incredible BJJ practitioner. He's got world-level BJJ experience, more than one international championship. He's incredibly explosive. He's got nice takedowns. Technique's not the greatest, but he's just so fast, so strong, so athletic. He'll just run a double, make something happen. His game plan is always to get it to the ground, but he can have some success on the feet as well. He's got some clean striking. We saw that in the Chris Curtis fight a couple of fights ago. He is coming off that win over Cody Brundage, where you could look at it and say, dude, this guy was dropped twice, basically, almost put out, and the only reason he won is because Cody Brundage is an idiot. All of those things are true. But Rodolfo Vieira also showed us that he's not a quitter. This guy got blasted, was almost put out, stayed in the fight. He could have very easily turned over and went like this and let the ref stop it and been like, ugh. But he didn't do that. He sucked it up. He stood back up. He bombed away, tried to make it happen, reset in between rounds, came out in the second, and got it done. Showed us how tough he actually is. He's taking on Armen Petrosian. This guy's a really fun striker. He's got a professional kickboxing background. He can be a bit of a brawler at times. He does rely on his chin. He does not have the best takedown defense, but he has incredible scramble skills, and he will get himself back up. He's coming off that decision win over Christian Leroy Duncan, where he won with just good old-fashioned technique while Christian was just spinning around trying to be fun and play to the crowd, and that didn't work for him. This is great matchmaking. I love this fight. And despite the odds being just razor thin, I think one of these guys is going to look phenomenal, right? The super close odds indicate, people are undecided who's going to win. I still think whoever wins is going to look like they should have been a 5-1 favorite, because Rodolfo Vieira either comes forward, gets the takedown, dominates and submits Armen, or Armen's going to defend a couple of pathetic takedown attempts, light up Rodolfo and put him out. I don't think there's a war. I don't think the loser of this fight is going to have any success whatsoever. I just don't. I'm going to pick Rodolfo, but I agree these odds are razor thin for a reason. It could go either way. Rodolfo could look pathetic, diving at legs with his head down, getting lit up. Or he can look phenomenal. I personally think he's going to look good. We saw how tough he is in that Cody Brundage fight. We know how insanely athletic he is. I think he'll come forward, get himself a takedown, and yeah, Armen's get-up game is great, but Rodolfo's a different level, right? He's not just, let me stand up real quick because I got taken down. No, Rodolfo's going to climb your back. He's going to hold you down. He's giant, athletic, strong, all of those things. I think the gap on the ground is far wider than the gap on the feet. So I'm going to lean Rodolfo Vieira here. But like I said, certainly if Armen wins this fight, He's going to look great, and Rodolfo's going to look very, very bad. But I personally am leaning Rodolfo. Then we have Free Spirit Caio Borralho taking on Abus Magomedov. This is another really good fight, honestly. For a fight night, this is a solid card because Caio Borralho, both of these guys are working their way towards the top of the division. Obviously, Abus coming off of a knockout loss, but hey, that was to the champion. But anyway, we got Caio Borralho. This guy's a slick grappler. He's got solid submissions, really well-timed takedowns, long stance, very loose on his feet. He likes to explode in the double legs. He has belts in both judo and jiu-jitsu, and you'll see both of those techniques used in all of his fights. Caio's quickly becoming a contender at 185 pounds, but despite how dominant his fights may seem on paper, they're not that close in actuality. He ends up in trouble. He seems to struggle at times with the takedowns. He gets hit a little more than you'd like him to get hit, but he does continue to win. He's putting together a nice little streak for himself. He's taking on Abus Magomedov. This guy is a powerful, and versatile striker. He's got wrestling as a backup plan if he needs it. He does have some sneaky power because he's not throwing bombs. Like, everything's clean and nice, and it seems to give some people a little bit of trouble. He is a long striker. He does a great job using his length to counter and then keeping people at the end of his strikes. He is going to throw everything from tight hooks to head kicks, and even though he can be hittable, he recognizes that if he's on the wrong end of some exchanges, he should probably wrestle, and then he will. Listen, he's coming off the loss to Sean Strickland. Everybody wants to talk about, fraud checked. Oh, what a bum. He's got 30 seconds of cardio. The reality, and some of that might be true, right? We just don't truly know yet. But the reality is that Abus Magomedov lost to the middleweight champion of the world. And to just dismiss that is a little crazy. So personally, I'm not going to look at the Sean Strickland loss and be like, Abus sucks, fraud checked. I think, okay, the guy lost to the middleweight champion who almost knocked out Izzy. And that's what makes this fight a little bit tricky to pick because Caio Borralho is a decent favorite here. And I know the expectation is he's going to come forward, get a takedown, and make it all happen. But Abus Magomedov potentially could defend these takedowns, and then he's going to be the much, much better striker here. So the reality is, if you think Caio Borralho is going to come forward and get the takedowns, if you think Abus was fraud checked, then bet your life savings on Caio Borralho. I personally have seen Caio look worse more often than Abus. Abus looked bad in one fight. Caio Borralho has had a couple of mistakes in a couple different fights, struggled a bit, and I've had bets on him in the past where I'm looking at those bets being like, oh, God, this might not cash. Anyway, I am going to pick Caio because he's at home. I can 100% count on him to try to wrestle. And we haven't seen much in the way of takedown defense from Abus, but I do think that Caio's going to be able to get him to the ground, going to be able to make something happen. I am not spending money on this fight. I think Caio could be a parlay buster. I am going to leave it alone. I'm just going to watch. I'm just going to enjoy. And this fight should be a great measuring stick for both people. We're going to know, is Abus actually good? Is Caio actually good? Great fight, great matchmaking. The very slight lean is going to be Caio Borralho. Then we have Rodrigo Nascimento taking on Dante Almeida. This is a rematch from a little bit more than 3 years ago. It was a pretty straightforward win for Rodrigo. He had a couple of takedowns, the eventual submission. Anytime we get a rematch, I like to look at when was it. If the first fight was more than 3 years ago, as this one was, I just sort of ignore it and then do the breakdown based off of the last couple of years of these people's career. If it's a rematch from a fight a year ago, then yeah, it's a different story. But anyway, we got Rodrigo Nascimento. This guy is a grappler. He has got solid submissions. He's occasionally going to get sucked into a striking match, though. His path to victory is usually grappling. He's going to initiate it by marching forward, throwing bombs, working a clinch. He averages almost 2 takedowns per fight. He has a solid 75% takedown defense. He is coming off that close decision win over Ilir Latifi, where despite being taken down twice, he was the much busier striker. Taking on Dante Almeida. This guy's a good boxer, heavy hands, solid footwork. He likes to set up his combinations by marching forward. Throws everything at 100% effort. Everything from leg kicks to overhands, just chopping down a tree, bombing away. Like everything this guy does looks like it hurts. He's not a wrestler, but he does have 7 takedowns in the UFC, and he is coming off that knockout win over Andrei Arlovski, where he was a step behind. He was getting a little bit outlanded, a little touched up, and then he landed big, pretty much like a Derek Lewis fight, right? You're losing, boom, winning. Don'Tale Mayes, dangerous guy. I've said this in the past. I said it in my last breakdown. He's like the next iteration of Derek Lewis because he does have insane power, but he's actually a better fighter skill-wise than Derek Lewis is. He's a little cleaner in the boxing. Takedown defense it's just okay, but his takedowns look great when he uses them. So let's take Derek Lewis. We'll add a little bit of takedowns. We'll clean up the cardio a bit. Boom. You got Don'Tale Mayes. Not quite the same power, but enough power to be behind in a fight, land big, and then change that entire fight. He's not going to be the better fighter here. Rodrigo is going to be the better fighter. Rodrigo's got the easier, cleaner path to victory, right? Get takedowns, grind away, where Don'Tale Mayes is going to have to connect big and connect big a couple times because Rodrigo has a pretty good chin on him. And I just don't think I can bet on a guy where I'm depending on him to land one big shot. So Rodrigo's going to be the pick. I trust him to come forward. I trust him to wrestle. I trust him to do all those things. What I am hoping for is the bookies give us a 1.5 round line. I hope they say, a couple of heavyweights. Big power over here, submission over here. I hope that's what we get because I'm going to do over 1.5. I think that Don'Tale Mayes, they already fought. He was taken down. He was submitted. And I think he's going to be hyper aware of that. I think his takedown defense will be a little bit on point. He's probably going to stay farther away. He's probably going to bomb a little harder, try to make Rodrigo regret the entries. All of that tells me that this fight's probably going to go over 1.5 rounds. Hopefully we get a 1.5 round line. I will bet the over on that. Other than that, don't bet on sloppy heavyweight fights. Then we have the co-main event of the evening. We have the second Bonfim brother, and he's taking on Nicholas Dalby. Gabriel Bonfim is a very solid striker. He's got high-level boxing credentials and also some very solid BJJ. He's a well-rounded guy. He's a little bit more patient than his brother Ismael is, but he's also aggressive with his takedowns. He gets it to the ground. He's methodical. He uses a control, and he works for positions and then submission. He is coming off that submission win over Trevin Giles, where he only needed 1 minute to get a takedown and a finish. He's taking on Nicholas Dalby. This guy's a karate-style striker, so he's got that long stance. He's going to stay mobile. He's going to switch back and forth. He's got a good amount of power, but he can be hittable himself. He averages a little more than 1 takedown per fight, but he does have a very low 31% takedown accuracy. His striking is just okay. His grappling is just okay. And all in all, he is a well-rounded guy who is going to work hard, but he's not very dangerous. He's coming off that decision win over Muslim Salikov, where he had 2 takedowns, but he also was taken down twice. Nicholas Dalby was the underdog in that last fight. He played spoiler, made it happen. He closed at plus 170. I mean, that's a good-size underdog to steal a win, but I don't think that's going to happen here. Unlike Nicholas Dalby's last opponent, Muslim Salikov, Gabriel Bonfim is not going to give him room to breathe. I see Gabriel coming forward, grappling early, and getting the win. Dalby is tough. This could go to a decision, which we have not seen Gabriel do yet, so that'll worry me a little bit, right? What is it going to look like when this guy's in the 3rd round? Does he have that cardio? But I still trust him despite the unknowns with the fight going a little bit longer. And I do like that Bonfim brother parlay. I think Gabriel gets this done. I think Nicholas Dalby's a little old, and I think the UFC knows exactly what they're doing with this matchup. And then finally, we have the main event of the evening. This is a new main event. It's about a month old at this point, but Jailton Almeida was supposed to fight Curtis Blaydes. Curtis Blaydes is out. Derek Lewis said, I'll go to Brazil for free. Hell, I'll stand there and wait with an uppercut and see what happens. And that's the only way Derek Lewis is going to win, because Jailton Almeida is an absolute savage. He has not looked like an actual human being in any of his UFC fights. He comes forward. He gets takedowns almost instantly. And then once he's on top, people are not standing up on this guy. Once he's on top, he has insane pressure. He's going to work you, let you squirm, and then suck up a submission. He has looked absolutely phenomenal. He's strong as hell, powerful, fast, athletic, all the things. He seems to have cardio. We haven't seen a 3rd round out of him yet, but he does seem to have cardio. He doesn't seem to slow down. We're just going to be making assumptions if we talk about his cardio into the 5th round and things like that. Striking, not great. We haven't seen a ton of it. And statistically speaking, I think he's got like one of the best striking differentials, or the least hit heavyweight. It's something crazy like that, stat-wise. His striking's not phenomenal, right? When his last fight, when he was fighting Rosenstruck, it was a little like, God, thank God he got it to the ground. That could be the case here because he is fighting Derek Lewis. And Derek Lewis, we all know who he is by now, right? He's not amazing anywhere. His takedown defense, just okay. Takedowns, almost non-existent. Cardio, mediocre. But this dude has insane power, and he's not going to quit. Well, he did quit a couple of times, actually, most notably against Cyril Gane at home. But he will, no problem losing a fight and then just ready to go the next round. Big uppercut, waiting in the wings. That's exactly what he did to Curtis Blades. Lost the first round, taken down a couple of times, and then was waiting with that uppercut and landed it beautifully. That could happen to Jailton Almeida. Jailton Almeida could come in here a little too aggressive with the takedowns and then just eat a Derek Lewis uppercut. This guy can knock down a horse without like an issue, really. I still think Jailton Almeida is going to get it done. I think he's going to get past whatever takedown defense Derek Lewis will have. I think he'll not get clubbed in the face with an uppercut. And if Sergey Spivak is just ragdolling Derek Lewis, I can't imagine what Jailton Almeida is going to do to him. The fact that Jailton Almeida is only a minus 450 favorite, the fact that that line is tightening instead of widening confuses the hell out of me. It confuses the hell out of me. And yeah, we've seen some Grant Dawson-esque upsets in main events these last couple of months. I don't think Jailton's that guy. This is not the first big heavy-handed striker he's fought. I think Jailton is going to come forward, get the takedowns, look superhuman, win at home, and Derek Lewis is going to lose this fight. And credit to him, he's stepping up on short notice. Derek Lewis is one of the most exciting fighters we will ever see. I don't think we'll ever see a heavyweight. Actually, maybe Sergey Pavlovich, but I don't think we're ever going to see a heavyweight doing the things that Derek Lewis has done, just knocking the people he's knocking out left and right without a care in the world. Best interviews in the game, but Jailton Almeida is going to win this fight. Minus 450, he was minus 75 a week, 475 a week ago. If that continues to tighten, I'm going to throw even more money on this guy. WeOnPicks.com, become a premium member. You're going to unlock all the things like the safety parlay. This is 20.61 units of net profit all time. The last two events, I've given you over 2 units of net profit from the safety parlay alone. That is up now. I think I have 2. I don't know why I'm doing it like this. 2 safety parlays for UFC Sao Paulo. You're also going to get tools like the line movement tracker, the opening odds, the current odds, the win probability, and the line movement for every single fight on every single card. You're going to get the detailed data, metrics, and analytics. You're going to get courses to teach you how to play DraftKings Fantasy, to walk you through what it all means, how to do it. You got the glossary on the right with all the fancy terms that people like to use. You're also going to get more than just this handsome guy. We just added the MMA Minute. He has brought his premium product to our platform. You're going to get Running Mouth MMA. You're going to get Artem. Artem's fantastic because he breaks down far more than just UFC. He's got LFA, KSW, all sorts of other promotions. He's giving you his picks and his bets. And you're going to get the Pick Doctor. The Pick Doctor is an AI, artificial intelligence, picking fights based purely off of historical data, guys. All of those things and so much more available to you for the low, low price of 33 cents a day, $10 a month. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top.